Hi, this is Regina Y Favors with Overcoming Setback series, and so I want to talk about how you should work through the 7 stages of setback. So this is going to give you an introduction to the 7 stages of setback that I created myself, and they are fully explored in my book Overcoming Setback: 5 Keys for Entering, Exiting, Correction. And so it's all about the correction process. To exit setback, you have to go through correction. And to go through correction, you have to receive instruction in order to advance, because instruction or correction is just another form of instruction. And you cannot exit setback without some sort of mentoring, some guiding, listening to your conscience, receiving instruction to move you forward. So this is Overcoming Setback series, working through the 7 stages of setback. Please like the video. Subscribe to the channel. If you are interested in further audio lessons, hit the notification bell. Thank you for listening. So the 7 stages of setback, this is an introduction to the correction process. And yes, it is focusing on setback, but the goal is to overcome setback. And again, the only way that you can overcome setback is through correction. So the 7 stages of setback include the following: missed opportunity, punishment, pain, correction, recovery, restoration, and advance. And so throughout this audio lesson, we're going to go through each stage of setback. So stage number 2 is punishment, addressing behavior. So behavior can be negative or bad behavior, but it just depends on the type of act you committed. So to punish is to inflict a penalty, discipline, and correction. Punishment is considered an unpleasant or undesirable outcome. The goal of punishment is to condition a child, for example, against self-endangerment. That's why we hit the hand of a child who is willing, who is trying to put their hand in the electrical socket. We need to immediately punish that child, so that child knows that it is wrong to do that. To require social conformity. So a lot of times if you commit a bad act against the law, then the punishment from the law will or should encourage social conformity. To defend and sustain tradition and norms. So these are basically cultural norms. That's why you will have some of the elders in each family, race, ethnicity, nationality, who sort of give you the stare in life. Like if you do something wrong or whatever, they give you that stare, and it kicks you back into position. And to guide people into respecting law and order. And we have to have law and order. No matter what people think about authority, we cannot have anarchy. Nothing will ever get done. And that's why I often push for my students to really learn their craft, because in 20, 30, 40 years, they are the ones who are going to be running the country. And like I say to them, we cannot have crazy people running the country. So we have to have people who respect law and order. Punishment may also be a type of social coercion. So in some ways, this may be a negative way, especially when dealing with race, but it just depends on the situation. The purpose of punishment is to address negative and or bad behavior. So without an understanding of what you did wrong, you are doomed to repeat the mistake. In addition, you cannot rely forever on this statement: everyone makes mistakes. That statement gives you permission to continue in bad behavior without consequence. See, if you continue to say everyone makes mistakes, you are never learning from your mistake. Because then immediately when you make that statement, you are looking for the validation around you to say, yeah, everyone makes mistakes. I make mistakes too. The problem with this statement, though, is that you're still distancing yourself from the act. Because if you really believe that you make mistakes, you would use the first person I make mistakes, versus looking, and everyone is considered singular, but it's not as if you are including yourself in that statement. If you if you accept the fact that you make mistakes, then that means you have to then accept the fact that you need to resolve that problem, that's a problem that needs to be resolved. People oftentimes have this sort of cognitive dissonance where they create the problem, make the mistake, and then separate themselves as if they are the types of people who don't make that kind of mistake when they just actually made the mistake. So you can't use that. If we go back to the workforce example, you come back from break late, or you leave the job early all the time without permission, and you come back and say, oh, I didn't know we couldn't do that. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Well, everyone makes mistakes. You keep doing that again and again and again, you're not going to have a job, right? And you can use any example you want to sort of help you understand that. Another statement that we often make, and this is what I've always made: I meant well, I was well intentioned. And in many cases, you can mean well. You thought that when you made that decision, that was a good decision, and that was a good decision, and you thought, okay, this is going good, and then all of a sudden you hit the wall, and you can't understand why you hit the wall, and then you realize later through self-reflection or someone telling you that was a wrong decision, that, oh, I shouldn't have done that, right? But I always believe that not to do something much early. I just think you want to do it, and then at the end, when it doesn't work out, you say, oh, well, I meant well. Everyone makes mistakes, right? These two statements also remove the burden of taking responsibility for your actions, and responsibility is a hard pill to follow because you must confirm that you made a mistake for which needs resolution. And then, of course, resolution takes time. And that's what I think people don't want to do. That's why you always have people who say, after they have made a bad choice in life, I'm a good person. I'm a good person. But you did not do a good thing at that time. And you can't claim I'm a good person if you are continually doing bad things. Maybe inherent in you, there is some goodness, but you're going to have to address your bad negative behavior, because that bad negative behavior from a quote unquote good person is affecting all the people negatively around you. And I always say, and we're going to get into procrastination, but I always say that procrastination is basically procrastinating the learning process, but it is also inconveniencing the people around you. So every time you say you make a mistake, you are setting back not only yourself, but you are setting back all of the people around you that now they are on your journey, and they are on the type of journey with you where you refuse to learn anything, where you refuse to learn from your mistakes. So they are in lockstep with you, and then what you are doing, what you're thinking, might get off on them. And so that's something that I want you to think about. Punishment reminds you that you can die, because it is that bridge between life and death. Too many mistakes can cost you your life. That's why it's important that the first punishment you get in your life for something, you need to take heed to it. That punishment is telling you that what you did was wrong. But if you get into some philosophical thinking about, well, was it really wrong? Or what is the definition of wrong? Does anyone make any wrong mistakes at all? I mean, how are we interpreting wrong? You keep getting into this back and forth philosophical debate about wrong. And one of these days, you're going to make a decision that leads to self-destruction. Too many mistakes can cost you your life. Too many decisions that are not favorable for living a well-planned life will undoubtedly contribute to ushering you somewhere before your time, and death, when sudden, is somewhere before your time. That's why I always think with people who die natural causes, or people who die in their later years, I don't really weep for those people. Some people who die at 80, 85, 90, 99 years old, people just crying about them. They lived their life. They didn't die before their time. They did what they were supposed to do on this earth. And so it is just natural for them to go on ahead and pass on. I weep for the ones who are 20, who haven't discovered their gifts and talents, or the person who is 40 who has discovered his or her gifts and talents but refused to use them. They out of some fear or lack of courage or just contempt, they're just not going to use it. Or some people just don't have the courage in general to go after their dreams using their gifts and talents. Okay, that person is a person that I weep for. Because even if you are 40 years old, when I look at the time that you may have on this earth to do some kind of good, I look at it in terms of retirement age. So if you're 40 years old and retirement age is usually 65, right? Then I look at it as in this fashion, that you have 25 more years from 40, 25 more years to make change. If you are 20 years old and you look at everyone retiring at 65, that means you got 40 years, 45 years to make change in your life. If you just coming out of prison and you're 40 years old and again 65, you got 25 more years. Sure, it's going to be hard, but if you can do 20 years in prison, you can do 20 years working out your dream. And what people struggle with is that they still have problems with the inconvenience of planning something out, of taking time with it, of preparing themselves. And so then they get into all of these types of decisions because they are basing them off some sort of offense that I have to go the right way. I have to do things right. They don't want to do that. They are offended by that. And so every time they make decisions that don't go right, they're punished for it. They don't self-reflect on the punishment. All they do is go back out, get hasty, do something hastily, and then keep going, and then they continue to be punished and punished or whatever. That the best example of this is the person who goes in and out of prison. They've been in and out of prison for a number of years and haven't learned anything while they were in prison, and hadn't learned anything while they were out. And so something should tell you something about what it is you need to do. You need to stop. Quit making hasty decisions. Do what our big mamas and nanas used to say: get somewhere and settle down. Get somewhere and sit down. And when you use the word settle down and stability and basic, they get upset because they want to be this big baller type person. Well, you're going to have to work towards that. But a lot of times people don't want to do that, and they go in and make hasty decisions. Punishment encourages you not to die before your time. So punishment follows missed opportunity. Because punishment comes directly after a missed opportunity in which you fail to regard and obey an instruction, it is necessary to take the punishment. People cannot go around committing offenses without some form of retribution. If you use profanity against someone and you are not punished for that offense, then you would believe that cursing somebody out is part of normal everyday life. And you have people going around doing this. These are people who love to fight. They love to instigate things. And their go-to is to curse somebody out, to throw a punch. Well, the only reason why you do something like that is because the people below you are scared. You're bullying them. They don't know how to make you. They don't know how to understand you. And you often stay in these abusive relationships because you're just trying to prove to the person that you are a good person for them and that they can depend on you and that you love them. But they're not capable of love in that season of their life. They are only capable of the hate that they feel in their heart. And so cursing somebody out is a belief system. That's a belief system. And if you believe that that's an okay thing to do, you will always believe that until you come against your match. And there's always someone who thinks just like you, but that person tends to be stronger and more direct in their aggressive behavior. We do what we know and what we have been exposed to throughout our lifespan. But even if we do something wrong, we still must be punished. So even if you did not have the best upbringing, childhood, you derived from a toxic environment and you saw your daddy hit your mama, or your mama hit your daddy, or your mama hit all of you, you're still going to have to feel the punishment of your behavior if you decide to use the same strategies. If you got a mother who is still hitting or activating bad behavior, and she's in her 60s, she's not changing. She might feel bad, but it's a belief system that she feels is necessary for her life, and she will die in that belief system. You can have moments where you don't feel good about the thing that you're doing, or some counselor can come along and show you a better way, and you cry about your situation, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you really have changed. That's a setback for you that you've been living in for 20 some odd years. I was looking at a episode of Ian Van Zandt, Fix My Life, and there was this mother who pulled out a gun on her child and then kicked her child out, had the marshal come kick the child out, and then come to find out that behavior comes from her own mother pulling out a knife on her. And it was revealed that the mother, sort of derives from kind of like the Jim Crow South, when she was bullied by young white men every time she went to school and came back home. And so she started carrying a knife. Well, she was on the show like almost in her 80s, I think. And she looked worn out, worn down, eyes bloodshot, tired or whatever. She had been spewing, she had been, what's the best word? Stuck in her hate and in her anger for years. It took Iyanla Vanzant to come in and sort of show her the way out of it, but she also still died shortly after that episode. And so some people, no matter what you do, they're going to be the types of people who are going to do, because if you're not activating change on your own, someone can come along and guide you, further guide you, but something in you has to say, I'm sick of myself and I got to make change. And that by the time someone does come along, I have done some part of the work that now they're going to guide and direct me. If you don't initiate that yourself, you're going to reset back to what you know, because it's been ingrained in you so long. You've been participating and contributing to it too long, and it's convenient for you, and people love convenience. And sometimes, I think to myself, sometimes you may have to take yourself out of that situation. I do believe in reconciliation. I don't think God wants you to not forgive people and things like that. That's just obvious. But I also believe you can forgive, of course, don't forget. But I also believe that you can forgive and not have anything to do with that person, because that person is a provoker. And you want to be careful about people who provoke you. If that's what they do to get a reaction from you, they are always going to do that. They will put on a good show in front of other people and in front of you, but eventually they're going to reset to what was most convenient for them. That's why some people, men who tend to be domestic violence abusers, they need a long road process of getting that kind of processing that kind of anger out of them. You take them back. How many times has a woman taken a person back and he brought flowers or something like that, and then in a couple of days he's reset back to what he was doing because it's convenient, and that's how he wants to express his anger. So punishment thus is inevitable when you exhibit and apply negative behavior, when you decide to disobey an instruction, and or when you choose a path that positions you out of order from the path you should be on. Punishment often comes when you choose to do what is most convenient rather than do what is right. And people don't like that. That is definitely something that people don't like, because doing what is right requires you to be conscious about what you are doing. You have to respect your own conscience, and then you have to be conscious about what it is you are doing. And that takes focused thinking. See, when we've been hurt, we operate in a very emotional, psychological sleepwalking way, because we don't know how to reconcile the hurt. So the only thing we do is whatever we are feeling, we want somebody else to feel. And so therefore, if hurting you is important for me to show you how much I'm hurting, that's what I'm going to do. But you're going to receive punishment for that. You may not receive the belt anymore, but you're going to receive something that that makes it clear to you. So sometimes you may have friends who leave. You may have a husband who leaves. You may have a child who never speaks to you again. And so punishment is inevitable if you continue on a path that is, disrespectful, dishonoring, failing to obey an instruction, failing to listen to like a kid or something like that, telling you that you are continually hurting them. And so that's something that I want you to think about as well. All right. Hopefully you gain some insight from this stage of setback. Like, subscribe, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell for more discussions. You can visit YouTube for more content, Regina Y Favors channel. And on that channel are also sections for other YouTube channels I run. You can always send me an email, reginayfavors@yahoo.com. The book will become available October 2021, Overcoming Setback, 5 Keys for Entering and Exiting Correction. Thank you for listening to this audio and visiting the channel. Have a great day.